Disney's Home on the Range. Out in the Wild West, there was a lovely little farm called Patch of Heaven. On Patch of Heaven, all the animals were a part of the family. Pearl ran from the farm with a little help from her 3 cows, Mrs. Calloway, Grace, and her most recent addition, Maggie. One day, the sheriff arrived on his horse Buck with some bad news. He handed Pearl a bank notice that said she had 3 days to settle her debt of $750, or they had excursion off Patch of Heaven. Maggie refused to give up, though, and set off into town with Grace and Mrs. Calloway to find the sheriff's horse and ask him to give them more time. In town, Buck was dreaming of capturing outlaws with Rico and the famous bounty hunter when the cows found him. Just then, Rico rode on to town and tossed yet another outlaw on the sheriff's porch. The only ferment left is that low-down, good-or-nothing Alameda Slim, said the sheriff. Slim was the cattle thief who, with the help of the Willie brothers, would steal the entire herd of cows, and they just disappear. The bounty on Slim was $750. Maggie had an idea. If the cows captured Slim, they could save the farm. Look, we all got to do this. Follow the chuck wagon to a cattle drive, and then, you see, the bad guys come to us, Maggie told the others. And they set off. But that night, Slim turned up on his buffalo, Junior, and began to yodel. It was his secret cow rustling weapon. Maggie, Mrs. Calloway, and the cattle fellow into a trance and followed Slim. But the music didn't affect Grace. Instead, she pushed the wagon downhill after the other cows, where it scooped them up away from the herd. Down the canyon, Rico turned up riding Buck. They started chasing Slim, but in a flash, he and the Willies disappeared with the stolen herd. Meanwhile, Slim, the Willies, and the stolen herd were hiding in an abandoned mine. Slim had changed into a clever disguise. He wore a byland unnoticed. It was all part of his plan: steal the cattle, force, and ranches, to go broke and sell the land. Then, in disguise, he'd buy it cheap. Now Slim was greedily looking at his map, pointing out Patch of Heaven. The next day, the cows met up a jackrabbit named Lucky Jack, who told them his mine had been taken over by an outlaw. The cows realized it was Slim, so Lucky Jack and the cows made their way towards the mine's entrance. Buck was already there, but he couldn't get inside. "The only critters that get by me are cows," said Junior, who was blocking the entrance, but started to disbelieve as the 3 cows walked right past Junior carrying Lucky Jack. Now all they had to do was capture Slim. "You two get into his attention while I sneak up behind him," Maggie instructs the cows. "Then I'll knock him onto the cart, and then we'll rope him up and wheel him to justice." Slim spotted the cows and began to yodel, but Maggie and Mrs. Calloway had plugged in their ears before Slim knew what was happening. The cows pushed him into the cart while Lucky Jack conked him on the head. But the mine cart rolled away, and the cows and out of control. With Slim still in it, the cows raced after him in another minecart, with everyone chasing after them. Then they all landed on the tracks. Outside the mine was a big crash. Slim burst out of his cart, grabbed the cows and handed them over to the Willies before he threw a bundle of money to Rico. Yep, Rico was really Slim's partner. Then he rode off disguised as Land Baron Yancey Odell to buy Patch of Heaven at the bank occasion, but Buck and the girls weren't about to give up. They helped each other capture and tie up Rico and the Willies. Then the cows jumped onto the train and drove off straight to Patch of Heaven. They arrived just in time. The 3 cows charged at Slim. With the help of all the farm animals, "It's Alameda Slim!" it cried the sheriff, and he threw a lasso around the outlaw before taking him away. The cows had fought the baddest outlaw in the West and won. They also saved the farm. The next day, the whole gang posed together for a picture in the local newspaper. The 3 cows were famous and they were finally home. The end. Subscribe to my channel for more. Goodbye for now.